viewers, and welcome to another chapter of reading. Joining me today is my lovely Lily. Mama loves you. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? It's gonna be a lengthy one. Chapter 21. The House Elf Liberation Fund. Harry, Ron, and Hermione went up to the alleyway that evening to find Hagrid, so that Harry could send Sirius a letter telling him that he had managed to get past his dragon unscathed. On the way, Harry filled Ron with everything Sirius told him about Karkaroff. Though shocked at first to hear that Karkaroff had been a Death Eater, by the time they entered the Owlery, Ron was saying that they ought to have suspected it all along. "That's doesn't it?" he said. "Remember what Malfoy said on the train about his being friends with Karkaroff? Now we know why they know each other. They're probably running around massed together at the World Cup. I tell you one thing though, Harry. If it was Karkaroff who put your name in the public, he's going to be feeling really stupid now, isn't he? Didn't work, did it? Only got a scratch. Come here, I'll do it." Hagrid was so overexcited at the idea of a delivery. He was flying around and around Harry's head, hooting incessantly. Ron snatched Hagrid out of the air and held him still while Harry attached the letter to his leg. Yeah, that sounds like a two-person job. Wonder if the owl also has ADHD. There's no way any of the other tests are going to be that dangerous. How could they be? Ron went on as he carried Hagrid to the window. "You know what? I reckon you could win this tournament, Harry. I'm serious." Foreshadowing. Harry knew that Ron was only saying this to make up for his behavior of the last weeks, but he appreciated it all the same. "Yeah, something tells me it's not because of that, Harry. Something tells me he's just saying it because he's your best friend. And that sounds like a good best friend to have, in my opinion." Hermione, however, leaned against the Owlery wall, folded her arms, and frowned at Ron. "Harry's got a long way to go before he finishes this tournament," she said seriously. "What if that was the first task? I hate to think what's coming next." "Little ray of sunshine, aren't you?" said Ron. "You and Professor Trelawney should get together sometime." He threw Pigwidgeon out of the window. Pigwidgeon plummeted 12 feet before managing to pull himself back up again. The letter attached to his leg was much longer and heavier than usual. Harry hadn't been able to resist giving Sirius a blow-by-blow account of exactly how he swerved, circled, dodged the horntail. "Oh, Harry, we love you anyway." Oh. They watched Pigwidgeon disappear into the darkness. Then Ron said, "Well, we'd better get downstairs for your surprise party, Harry." "Oh, it's not much of a surprise now, is it?" Fred and George should have mixed enough food from the kitchen by now. Sure enough, when they entered the Gryffindor common room, it exploded with cheers and yells again. Oof, nightmare. There were mountains of cakes. Now that's a dream. And flagons of pumpkin juice and butterbeer. That sounds so good. definitely recommend you try it. On every surface. Lee Jordan had led off some filibuster's fireworks so that the air was thick with stars and sparks. And Dean Thomas, who was very good at drawing. Hey, we have something in common, Dean. I didn't expect that. We'd be good friends, considering we'd probably have fun drawing together, I'm sure. Had put up some impressive new banners, most which depicted Harry zooming around the Horntail's head on his firebolt, though a couple showed Cedric with his head on. Oh, Dean, play nice. Cedric's a good student. Harry helped himself to food. He had almost forgotten what it was like to feel properly hungry, and sat down with Ron and Hermione. Couldn't believe how happy he felt. He had Ron back on his side. He'd gone through the first task, and he wouldn't have to face the second one for 3 months. Blimey, this is heavy, said Lee Jordan, picking up the golden egg which Harry had left on a table and weighing it in his hands. Open it, Harry. Go on. Let's just see what's inside it. He's supposed to work out the clue on his own, Hermione said swiftly. It's the tournament rules. I was supposed to work out how to get past the dragon on my own, too, Harry muttered, so only Hermione could hear him, and she grinned rather guiltily. Yes, go on, Harry, open it. Several people echoed. Lee passed Harry the egg. Harry dug his fingernails into the groove that ran all the way around it and prized it open. It was hollow and completely empty. But the moment Harry opened it, the most horrible noise, a loud and screechy wailing, which I will not attempt, filled the room. The nearest thing to it Harry had ever heard was the ghost orchestra at nearly Headless Nick's death day party, who all had been playing the musical saw. Ugh. I don't even want to know what that means. Shut it! Fred bellowed, his hands over his ears. Yeah, me too, Fred. Me too. Me too. I would be covering my ears and cowering up. Better yet, I would just be in a library. I'm sure Hermione would be happy to join me. What was that? Said Seamus Finning, again staring at the egg as Harry slammed it shut again. Sounded like a banshee. Maybe you're gonna get past one of those next, Harry. It was someone being tortured, said Neville, who had gone very white and spilled sausage rolls all over the floor. Oh, but for Neville. You're going to fight the You're going to have to fight the Cruciatus curse. Don't be a prat, Neville. That's illegal, said George. They wouldn't use the Cruciatus curse on the champions. Thought it sounded a bit like Percy singing. Thank you for that image. Maybe you've got to attack mummies in the shower, Harry. Well, George, you're kind of close with the water theme. I'll give you that. Percy. in the tower. I can't get that image out of my head now. Okay. Okay, I think I'm calmed down now. When it's time to talk, Hermione, said Fred. Hermione looked doubtfully at the plate he was offering her. Fred grinned. It's all right, he said. I haven't done anything to them. It's the custard creams you forgot to wash. Neville, who had just been into a custard cream, choked and spat it out. Fred laughed. Just another joke, Neville. Hermione took a jam tart. Then she said, Did you get all of this from the kitchen, Fred? Yep. Fred grinned at her. Went on a high-pitched squeak and imitated house. Anything we can get you, sir. Anything at all. They're dead helpful. Me roast off if I said I was peckish. Oh, Hermione. How do you get in there? Hermione said in an innocently casual sort of voice. Easily, said Fred. Concealed door behind the painting of a bowl of fruit. Just tickle the pad. It giggles, and he stopped to look suspiciously at her. Why? Nothing, said Hermione quickly. Going to try and leave the house of them on strike now, are you? Said George. Going to give up all the leaflet stuff and stir them into rebellion? Several people turned. Hermione didn't answer. Don't you go upsetting them and telling them they've got to take those in salaries, said Fred warningly. You put them off their cooking. Just then, Neville caused a slight diversion by turning into a large canary. Oh, sorry, Neville. Fred shouted all over the laughter. I forgot. It was the custard cream we texted. Within a minute, however, Neville had molted, and once his feathers had fallen off, he reappeared looking entirely normal. He even joined in laughing. Canary creams! Fred shouted to the excitable crowd. George and I invented them. Seven sickles each. A bargain. It was nearly 1 in the morning when Harry finally went up to the dormitory with Ron, Neville, Seamus, and Dane. Before he pulled the curtains of his four-poster shut, Harry set his tiny model of the Hungarian horntail on the table next to his bed, where it yawned, curled up, and closed its eyes. Really? Harry thought, as he pulled the hangings on his four-poster closed. Hagrid had a point. They were all right, really dragons. The start of December brought wind and sleet to Hogwarts. Well, this weather outside, from what I've heard lately, has been windy, so yeah, I would say that's pretty on point, even though it's not December. I just wish the weather would make up its mind, but then again, I feel like, I'm at home. Considering, I'm sure the UK does not follow a typical climate. Much like where I live, so. Moving on. Drafting through though the castle was always drafty in winter, Harry was glad of its fires and thick walls every time he passed the Durmstrang ship on the lake, which was pitching in high winds, its black sails billowing against the dark skies. Beauxbaton caravan was likely to be pretty chilly too. Hagrid, he noticed, was keeping Madame Maxime's horses well provided with their preferred drink of single malt whiskey. The fumes wafting off from the trough in the corner of their paddock was enough to make the entire care of magical creatures class lightheaded. This was unhelpful, as they were still tending the horrible Skrewts and needed their wits about them. I'm not sure whether they hibernate or not, Hagrid told the shivering class in the windy pumpkin patch next lesson. Just thought we'd try and see if they fancied a kid. We'll just settle them down in these boxes. There were now only 10 Skrewts left. Apparently their desire to end another had not been exercised out of them. Each of them was now approaching 6 feet in length. Their thick gray armor, their powerful skeleton legs, their fire-blasting ends, their stains and their suckers combined to make the Skrewts the most repulsive things Harry had ever seen. Yeah, I kind of would share that sentiment if I would see one too. But then again, I'm not really much of a bug person. I was trying to put it in a proper term, but I couldn't think of it on the top of my head. Sorry, guys. I mean, I do like some bugs, like the jewel beetle, the ladybug, the blue morpho butterfly, but overall, I'm just not really a bug person. Oh yeah, I like caterpillars too. But anything other than those ones, alongside the monarch butterfly and all that, yeah, I'm not really a bug person. The class was moving on. The class looked dispiritedly at the enormous boxes Hagrid had brought out, all lined with pillows and fluffy blankets. Oh, Hagrid, they're gonna blow. They're gonna catch those things on fire. What are you thinking? But the Skrewts, as it transpired, did not hibernate, and did not appreciate being forced into pill-lined boxes and nailed in. Hagrid was soon yelling, Don't panic, don't panic, while the Skrewts rummaged around the pumpkin patch, now strewn with the smoldering wreckage of the boxes. Most of the class, Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle in the lead, had fled into Hagrid's cabin through the back door and barricaded themselves in. Harry, Ron, and Hermione, however, were among those who remained outside trying to help Hagrid. However, they managed to restrain and tie up 9 of the Skrewts, though at the cost of numerous burns and cuts. Finally, only 1 Skrew was left. Don't find him now, Hagrid shouted as Ron and Harry used their wands to shoot jets of fiery sparks at the Skrew, which was advancing menacingly on them, its thin arch quivering over its back. It tries up the rope around his wing, so he won't hurt any of the others. Yeah, we won't want that, Ron shouted angrily as he hurried back into the wall of Hagrid's cabin, still holding the Skrew off with their sparks. Well, this does look like fun. Rita Skeeter was leaning on Hagrid's garden fence, looking in at the mayhem. She was wearing a thick magenta cloak with a furry purple collar today, and her crocodile skin handbag was over her arm. Oh, not Rita again. Oh, I hit her with a person. Hagrid launched himself forward on top of the Skrewt that was concerning Harry and Ron and flooded. A blast of fire shot out of its end, withering the pumpkin plants nearby. Who are you? Hagrid asked Rita Skeeter as he slipped a loop of rope around the Skrewt's thing and tightened it. Rita Skeeter, Daily Prophet Reporter. Rita replied, beaming at him, her gold teeth glinted. Thought Dumbledore said you weren't allowed inside the school anymore, said Hagrid, frowning slightly as he got off the slightly squashed Skrewt and started tugging it over to its fellows. Rita acted as though she hadn't heard what Hagrid had said. Yeah, and another reason why I don't like her. What are these fascinating creatures called? She asked, beaming still more widely. Blast-Ended Skrewts, ranted Hagrid. Really? Said Rita, apparently full of lively interest. I've never heard of them before. Where do they come from? Harry noticed a dull red flush rising up out of Hagrid's wild black beard, and his heart sank. Where had Hagrid got the Skrewts from? Hermione, who seemed to be thinking along these lines, said quickly, They're very interesting, aren't they, Harry? What? Oh, yeah. How interesting, said Harry as she stepped on his foot. Ah, you're here, Harry, said Rita Skeeter as she looked around. So you like magical creatures, do you? One of your favorite lessons? Yes, said Harry stoutly. Hagrid beat him. Lovely, said Rita. Really lovely. And teaching you? She added to Hagrid. Harry noticed her eyes traveled over to Dean, who had a nasty cut across one cheek. Lavender, whose robes were badly singed. Seamus, who was nursing several burned fingers. And then to the cabin windows where most of the class stood, their nose presses against the glass, waiting to see if the coast was clear. This is only my second year, said Hagrid. Lovely. I don't suppose you'd like to give an interview, would you? Share some of your experience with magical creatures. The Prophet does a zoological com every Wednesday, as I'm sure you know. We could feature these, Blast-Ended Skrewts. I mean, that is as much as I don't like Rita, that is a much better name for them, I must admit. Moving on. Blast-Ended Skrewts, Hagrid said eagerly. Yeah, why not? No, Hagrid, what are you getting into? Harry had a very bad feeling about this, but there was no way of communicating it to Hagrid without Rita Skeeter seeing. So he had to stand and watch in silence as Hagrid and Rita Skeeter made arrangements to meet in the Three Broomsticks for a good long interview later that week. Then the bell rang up at the castle, signaling the end of the lesson. Goodbye, Harry, Rita Skeeter called merrily to him as he set off with Ron and Hermione. Until Friday night, then, Hagrid. She'll twist everything he says, Harry said under his breath. Just as long as he didn't pull up those skirts illegally or anything, Hermione said desperately. They looked at one another. It was exactly the sort of thing Hagrid might do. Yeah, that does sound quite in line with Hagrid, I must admit. Hagrid's been in loads of trouble before, and Dumbledore's never sacked him, said Ron consolingly. Worst that can happen is Hagrid will have to get rid of the Skrewts. Sorry, did I say worst? I meant best. Oh, Ron. Harry and Hermione laughed, and feeling slightly more cheerful, went off to lunch. Harry thoroughly enjoyed double divination that afternoon. They were still doing star charts and predictions. But now that he and Ron were friends once more, the whole thing seemed very funny again. Professor Trelawney, who had been so pleased with the pair of them when they had predicted their own horrific deaths, quickly became irritated as they snickered through her explanation of the various ways in which Pluto could disrupt everyday life. Oh no. I would think, she said in a mystical whisper that did not conceal her obvious feelings, that some of us, she stared very meaningfully at her, would be a little less frivolous had they seen what I have seen during my crystal gazing last night. As I sat here absorbed in my needlework, the urge to consult the orb overpowered me. I arose, I settled myself before it, and I gazed into its crystalline depths. And what do you think I saw gazing back at me? An ugly old bat-sized specs. Ron muttered under his breath. Harry fought hard to keep his face straight. Yeah, I'm struggling to keep it straight too. Oh, Ron, you and I would get along well, I'm sure. Death, my dears. Parvati and Lavender put their hands over their mouths, both looking horrified. Yes, said Professor Trelawney, nodding impressively. It comes ever closer. It circles overhead like a vulture. Ever lower the castle. She stared pointedly at Harry, who had yawned very wide. Yawned very widely, and obviously. Yeah, I think it's safe to say my body turned by yawn well. It'd be a bit more impressive if she hadn't done it about 80 times before, Harry said as they finally regained the fresh air out of the staircase beneath Professor Trelawney's room. But if I dropped it every time she told me I'm going to, it'd be a medical miracle. Yeah, that you would be, Harry. You'd be sort of an extra concentrated ghost, said Ron, chortling as they passed the bloody bear and going in the opposite direction, his wide eyes staring sinisterly. At least we didn't get homework. I hope Hermione's got loads off Professor Vector. I love not working when she's. But Hermione wasn't at dinner, or was she in the library when they went to look for her afterward? The only person in there was Victor Crumb. Ron hovered behind the bookshelves for a while, watching Crumb, debating in whispers with Harry whether he should ask for an autograph. But then Ron realized that 6 or 7 girls were working in the next row of books, making exactly the same thing, and he lost his enthusiasm for the idea. Wonder what she's got up to, Ron said as he and Harry went back to Gryffindor Tower. Don't know. Spotted that. But the fat lady had barely begun to swing forward when the sound of racing feet behind them announced Hermione's arrival. Harry! She panted, skidding to a halt beside him. The fat lady stared down at her eyebrows raised. Harry, you've got to come! You've got to come! The most amazing things happened! Please! She seized Harry's arm and started to try and drag him back along the corridor. What's the matter? Harry said, I'll show you when we get there. Well, come on, quick! Harry looked around at Ron. He looked back at Harry, intrigued. Okay, Harry said, starting off back down the corridor with Hermione. Ron hurried to keep up. Oh, don't mind me, said the fat lady called irritably after them. Don't apologize for bothering me. I'll just hang here wide open until you get back, shall I? Yeah, thanks, Ron shouted over his shoulder. Yeah, they could have squeaked in an apology. So I don't worry, fat lady. I would apologize if I did the same thing to you. Hermione, where are we going? Harry asked after she had led them down through 6 floors and started down the marble staircase in the entrance. You'll see in a minute, said Hermione excitedly. She turned left at the bottom of the staircase and hurried toward the door which Cedric Diggory had gone the night after the Goblet of Fire had. Sorry, I'm just loving JK's word choice here, it's funny. Regurgitated his and Harry's names. Basically, it threw up their names, and if you think it literally. That's a funny visual. It's like, oh, there's a name. I'm sorry. It's just, when I first read that, I took it as the literal context visually, and it was funny. It still is. Moving on. Harry had never been through here before. He and Ron followed Hermione down a flight of stone steps, but instead of ending up in a gloomy underground passage like the one that led to Snape's dungeon, they found themselves in a broad stone corridor, brightly lit with torches and decorated with cheerful paintings that were mainly of food. Oh, hang on, Harry said slowly halfway down the corridor. Wait a minute, Hermione. What? She turned around to look at him, anticipation all over her face. I know what this is about, said Harry. He nudged Ron and pointed to the painting just behind Hermione. It showed a gigantic silver fruit bowl. Hermione, said Ron, cottoning on. You're trying to rope us into that SPEW stuff again. No, I'm not, she said hastily. And it's not SPEW, Ron. What are we now? Change the name, have you? Said Ron, frowning at her. What are we now then? The House of Liberation? I'm not barging into that kitchen and trying to make it work. I'm not doing it. I'm not asking you to, Hermione said impatiently. I came down here just now to talk to them all, and I thought, oh, come on, Harry, I want to show you. She seized his arm again, pulled him in front of the picture of the giant fruit bowl, stretched out her forefinger, and tickled the huge green pear. It began to squirm chuckling and suddenly turned into a large green door handle. Hermione seized it, pulled the door open, and pushed Harry hard in the back, forcing him inside. Ow. He had one brief glimpse of an enormous high-ceilinged room, large as the great hall above it, with mounds of glittering brass pots and pans heaped around the stone walls, and a great brick fireplace at the other end, when something small hurtled toward him in the middle of the room, squealing, "Harry Potter, sir! Harry Potter!" Next second, all the wind had been knocked out of him as the squealing elf hit him hard in the midriff, hugging him so tightly he thought his ribs would break. "Dobby!" Harry gasped. "It is Dobby, sir! It is!" squealed the voice from somewhere around his navel. "Dobby has been hoping and hoping to see Harry Potter, sir, and Harry Potter has come to see him, sir." Dobby let go and stepped back a few paces, beaming up at Harry with his enormous tennis ball-shaped eyes brimming with tears of happiness. He looked almost exactly as Harry remembered him. The pencil-shaped nose, the bat-like ears, the long fingers and feet, all except the clothes, which were very different. When Dobby had worked for the Malfoys, he had always worn the same filthy old pillowcase. Now, however, he was wearing the strangest assortment of garments Harry had ever seen. He had done an even worse job of dressing himself than the wizards at the World Cup. He was wearing a tea-cozy for a hat, on which he had pinned a number of bright badges, a tie patterned with horseshoes over a bare chest, a pair of what looked like children's soccer shorts, and odd socks. One of these, Harry saw, was the weapon Harry had removed from his own foot and tricked Mr. Malfoy into giving Dobby, thereby setting Dobby free. The other was covered in pink and orange stripes. "Oh, Dobby, I love you, but your fashion sense, no, it's too wild for me." "Dobby, what are you doing here?" Harry said in amazement. "Dobby has come to work at Hogwarts, sir," Dobby squealed excitedly. "Professor Dumbledore gave Dobby and Winky jobs, sir." "Winky?" said Harry. "She's here too." "Sir, yes. Yes, sir, yes," said Dobby, and he seized Harry's hand and pulled him off into the kitchen between the four wooden tables that stood there. Each of these tables, Harry noticed as he passed them, was positioned exactly beneath the four house tables above, in the great hall. At the moment they were clear of food, having dinner finished, but he supposed that an hour ago they had been laden with dishes that were then set them through the ceiling to their counterparts above. Yeah, that would be one interpretation of how they get there. At least 100 little elves were standing around the kitchen, beaming, bowing, and curtsying as Dobby led Harry past them. They were all wearing the same uniform, a tea towel stamped with the Hogwarts crest, and tied as Winky's had been, like a toga. That's honestly kind of cool. I honestly think togas are kind of cool. Not saying I've worn one, but it'd be neat, you know? I just don't think I could do that one shoulder thing. Dobby stopped in front of the brick fireplace and pointed. "Winky, sir," he said. Winky was sitting on a stool by the fire. Unlike Dobby, she had obviously not foraged for clothes. She was wearing a neat little skirt and blouse with a matching blue hat, which had holes in it for her large ears. That sounds like a nice attire, in my opinion. However, while every one of Dobby's strange collection of garments was so clean and well cared for that it looked brand new, Winky was plainly not taking care of her clothes at all. There were soup stains all down her blouse and a burn in her skirt. I wouldn't let that happen for me to wear that. "Hello, Winky," said her. Winky's lips quivered. Then she burst into tears which spilled out of her great brown eyes and splashed down her front, just as they had done at the Quidditch World Cup. "Oh dear," said Hermione. She and Ron had followed Harry and Dobby to the end of the kitchen. "Winky, don't cry. Please don't." But Winky cried harder than ever. Dobby, on the other hand, beamed up at Harry. "Would Harry Potter like a cup of tea?" he squeaked loudly over Winky's sobs. "Yeah, I'd like one. Since you're asking, Dobby, I'd like a cup of tea too." Yeah. "Okay," said Harry. Instantly about six house elves came trotting up behind him, bearing a large silver tray laden with the teapot cups for Harry, Ron, and Hermione, a milk jug, and a large plate of biscuits. My imagination is going to tell me that they're butter biscuits. Delicious. And as for the tea, given the milk jug, I'm going to safely say it's going to be English breakfast. Okay, yes, this is another instance where you'll catch me saying English instead of British. The other instance being the English Bulldog breed of dog, as we discover in my commentary in Prisoner of Azkaban. But anyhow, using my imagination, I'm going to say that the tea is going to be a royal breakfast tea with buttered biscuits. That just sounds so good together. Doesn't it? Too bad I don't have any tea bags or buttered biscuits. Now I want it. Sometimes my imagination becomes hungry. Moving on. "Good service," said Ron in an impressed voice. Hermione frowned at him, but the elves all looked delighted. They bowed very low and retreated. "How long have you been here, Dobby?" Harry asked as Dobby handed around the tea. "Only a week, Harry Potter, sir," said Dobby heavily. "Dobby came to see Professor Dumbledore, sir. You see, it is very difficult for a house elf who has been dismissed to get a new position, sir. Very difficult indeed." At this, Winky howled even harder, her squashed tomato of a nose dribbling all down her front, though she made no effort to stem the flow. "Dobby has traveled the country for 2 whole years, sir, trying to find work," Dobby squeaked. "But Dobby hasn't found work, sir, because Dobby wants paid now." The house elves all around the kitchen, who had been listening and watching with interest, all looked away at these words, as though Dobby had said something rude and embarrassing. Hermione, however, said, "Good for you, Dobby." "Thank you, miss," said Dobby, grinning tidily at her. "But most wizards don't want a house elf who wants pain, miss. That's not the point of a house elf," they said. And they slammed the door in Dobby's face. "Dobby likes work, but he wants to wear clothes and he wants to be paid, Harry Potter. Dobby likes being free." The Hogwarts house elves are now starting edging away from Dobby as though he were carrying something contagious. Winky, however, remained where she was, though there was a definite increase in the volume of her crying. And then Harry Potter, Dobby goes to visit Winky and finds out Winky has been freed too, sir," said Dobby delightedly. At this, Winky flung herself forward, off her stolen lay face down on the flagged stone floor, beating her tiny fists upon it and positively screaming with misery. Oh, Winky. Hermione hastily dropped down to her knees beside her and tried to comfort her. But nothing she said made the slightest difference. Dobby continued with his story, shouting shrilly over Winky's screeches. Then Dobby had the idea, Harry Potter said. Why doesn't Dobby and Winky find work together? Dobby said. Where is there enough work for 2 house elves? Said Winky. And Dobby thinks, and it comes to him, sir, Hogwarts. So Dobby and Winky came to see Professor Dumbledore, sir, and Professor Dumbledore took us on. Dobby beamed very brightly, and happy tears welled his eyes again. And Professor Dumbledore says he will pay Dobby, sir, if Dobby wants paid. And so Dobby is a free elf, sir, and Dobby gets a galleon a week and a day off a month. That's not very much. Hermione shouted indignantly from the floor over Winky's continued screaming and fist beating. Professor Dumbledore offered Dobby 10 galleons a week and weekends off, said Dobby, suddenly giving a little shiver as that the prospect of so much leisure and riches were frightening. But Dobby has beaten down, miss. Dobby likes freedom, miss. But he isn't wanting too much, miss. He likes work better. Oh, I admire your humble heart, said Dobby. I really do. And how much is Professor Dumbledore paying you, Winky? Hermione asked kindly. If she had thought this would cheer up Winky, she was wildly mistaken. Winky did stop crying, but when she sat up, she was worried at Hermione through her massive brown eyes, her whole face sopping wet and suddenly furious. Winky is a disgraced house elf, but Winky is not getting paid, she squeaked. Winky has not sunk so low as that. Winky is properly ashamed of being free. Ashamed? Said Hermione Blake. But, Winky, come on. It's Mr. Crouch who should be ashamed, not you. You didn't do anything wrong. He was really horrible to you. But at these words, Winky clapped her hands over the holes in her hat, flattening her ears so that she couldn't hear a word, and screamed, You are not insulting my master, miss. You are not insulting Mr. Crouch. Mr. Crouch is a good wizard, miss. Mr. Crouch is right to sack bad Winky. Winky is having trouble adjusting, Harry Potter, squeaked Dobby confidently. Winky forgot she is not bound to Mr. Crouch anymore. She is allowed to speak her mind now, but she won't do it. Can't house elves speak their minds about their masters, then? Harry asked. Oh, no, sir, no, said Dobby, looking suddenly serious. 'Tis part of the house elves' enslavement, sir. We keep their secrets in silence, sir. We uphold the family's honor, and we never speak ill of them. The Professor Dumbledore told Dobby he does not insist upon this. Professor Dumbledore said we are free to... Dobby looked suddenly nervous and beckoned Harry closer. Harry bent forward. Dobby whispered, He said we are free to call him a puppy old codger if he likes, sir. Dobby gave a frightened sort of giggle. But Dobby is not wanting to, Harry Potter, he said, talking normally again, and shaking his head so that his ears flapped. Dobby likes Professor Dumbledore very much, and is proud to keep his secrets in silence for him. But what can you say you like about the Malfoys now? Harry asked in grinning. A slightly fearful look came into Dobby's immense eyes. Dobby could, he said doubtfully. He squared his small shoulders. Dobby could tell Harry Potter that his old masters were bad dog wizards. Dobby stood for a moment, quivering all over, horror-struck by his own daring, then rushed over to the nearest table and began banging his head on it very hard, screaming, "Bad Dobby! Bad Dobby!" Harry seized Dobby by the back of his tie and pulled him away from the table. "Thank you, Harry Potter, thank you," said Dobby, breathlessly rubbing his head. You just need a bit of practice," Harry said. "Practice?" squealed Winky furiously. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Dobby, talking that way about your masters." "They aren't my masters anymore, Winky," said Dobby defiantly. "Dobby doesn't care what they think anymore." "Oh, you are a bad elf, Dobby," moaned Winky, tears linking down her face once more. "My poor Mr. Crouch. What is he doing without Winky? He is needing me. He is needing my help. I am looking after the Crouches all my life, and my mother is doing it before me. And my grandmother is doing it before her. Oh, what are they saying if they knew Winky was freed? Oh, the shame! The shame!" She buried her face in her skirt again and bawled. "Winky," said Hermione firmly, "I'm sure Mr. Crouch is getting along perfectly well without you. We've seen him, you know." "You are seeing my master?" said Winky, breathlessly racing her tear-streaming face out of her skirt once more and goggling at Hermione. "You are seeing him at Hogwarts?" "Yes," said Hermione. "He and Mr. Beckman are the judges in the Travis's tournament." "Mr. Beckman came too?" squealed Winky into Harry's great surprise. Ron and Hermione's too, by the looks on their faces. She looked angry again. "Mr. Beckman is a bad wizard! A very bad wizard! My master isn't liking him! Oh no, not stop!" "Beckman bad?" said Harry. "Oh yes," Winky said, nodding her head furiously. "My master's telling Winky some things. But Winky is not saying. Winky keeps her master's secrets." She dissolved yet again in tears. They could hear her sobbing into her skirt. Poor master! Poor master! No Winky to help him no more." They couldn't get another sensible word out of Winky. They left her to her crying and finished their tea, while Dobby chatted happily about his life as a free elf and his plans for the wages. "Dobby is going to buy a sweater next, Harry Potter," he said happily, pointing at his bare chest. "Tell you what, Dobby," said Ron, who seemed to have taken a great liking to the elf. "I'll give you the one my mum knits this Christmas. I always get one from her. Don't mind my room, do you?" Robbie was delighted. "We might have to get a bed to fetch you," Ron told him, "but it'll go well with your tea cozy." As they prepared to take their leave, many of the surrounding elves pressed in upon them, offering snacks to take back upstairs. Hermione refused, but with a pained look at the way the elves kept bowing and curtsying, Harry and Ron had loaded their pockets with cream cakes and pies. Pecan pies! I'm using my imagination here, and I love pecan pies. "Thanks a lot," Harry said to the elves who had all clustered around the door to say goodnight. "See you, Dobby." "Harry Potter, can Dobby come and see you sometimes, sir?" Dobby asked tentatively. "Of course you can," said Harry, and Dobby beamed. "You know what? Said Ron once Hermione and Harry had left the Kitchens behind him were climbing the steps into the entrance hall again. All these years I've been really impressed with Fred and George. Nicking food from the kitchens. Well, it's not exactly difficult, is it? They can't wait to give it away. I think this is the best thing that could have happened to those elves, you know, said Hermione, leading the way back up the marble staircase. They'll be coming to work here, I mean. The other elves will see how happy he is being free, and it'll slowly dawn on them that they want that too. Let's hope they don't look too closely at Winky, said Harry. Oh, shut her up, said Hermione, though she sounded a bit doubtful. Once the shock's worn off, and she's gotten used to Hogwarts, she'll see how much better off she is without that Crouch man. She seems to love him, said Ron thickly. He had just started on a cream cake. Doesn't think much of Bagman, though, does she? Said Harry. Wonder what Crouch says at home about him. Probably he's not a very good head of department, said Hermione. And let's face it, he's got a point, hasn't he? I'd still rather work for him than old Crouch, said Ron. At least Bagman's got a sense of humor. Don't let Percy hear you saying that, Hermione said, smiling slightly. Yeah, well, Percy wouldn't want to work for anyone with a sense of humor, would he? Said Ron, now starting on a chocolatey cracker. I've had those in pie form and they are good. Not so much in eclair form, though. I imagine they're just as delicious, however. Don't be... Ron. Percy wouldn't recognize it. Percy wouldn't recognize a joke if a dance nude in front of him wearing Dobby's teacoat thing. And that is the hilarious end of this chapter. Join me next week for chapter 22, The Unexpected Task. Until then, bye!